What's up everyone, Brady Figo here coming at you with another album review. This time it is a review of the new Opal and Sky record Dream Shift. It was released this past Friday, July 5th, and this is their debut album. They've had a few singles in the last couple years, but this is their actual first body of work containing multiple songs. The band consists of actually just two twin brothers. I tried looking on their website to see what their names are and who does what. It doesn't really go into much detail there, but it's two twin brothers doing everything on this album. And I actually discovered this band from Instagram. They post kind of like metal-related content, all of which I greatly support. They do a lot of videos along the lines of like trying to get just more people into metal, whether that's educating people about subgenres or making fun of and putting down metal elitists who gatekeep the genre. They just post overall great and relatable content, and they seem just like very cool guys. And I saw they were releasing an album, so I had to check it out. The album kicks off with the track Projection, which is only it's just over a minute long, and I feel like it pretty much serves as an intro track. The end of it kind of ends up leading into the following track. You get like this clean guitar line that kind of feels like it's building up, and then you kick into the next track, Rediscover, which it kind of takes that clean guitar line and modifies it a little bit, gives it this very distinct melody, which I really like. And Rediscover is definitely one of the more aggressive tracks on here. There isn't really any clean vocals, although it does have this really cool break in the bridge with this cool like ambient piano line. I thought that was very creative. So definitely the album starts off on a great note, and then you get into the next track, Serene, which opens with maybe one of the most dynamic riffs on the whole album. Definitely kind of maintains the energy that the first two tracks established. And this track does have a clean chorus, which I think felt very smooth. And this song overall is different from the first two tracks I was saying, in a sense that it kind of just keeps going the whole time. There's no breaks like there was on Rediscover. The next track, Those Who Wait, follows in this vein as well, although this one kind of ends in a more ambient, or I guess piano-driven section, which I thought was good. These ambient parts are probably some of the highlights on the album. Just they really keep you second guessing. It makes the album a bit less predictable. The next track, Beautiful Beast, is probably my favorite on the album. It opens with this really cool dissonant ambient part over a dissonant style breakdown riff. And this is another song that kind of just doesn't stop the whole time. It's got more kind of bendy riffs as the song goes on. Definitely some of the best riffing on the album. Hand of a Guide is one that's a bit more stop and go in a sense that you get the heavy parts and you get a few short breaks and you get the melodic chorus, for example. This song probably has some of the best melodies that are spun throughout it, in both the clean vocals and again those ambient clean guitars that kind of hover over in the background. And then the song Introspect is very interesting. It starts off with a full minute of just ambiance, and then you get some isolated vocals over it, and they're not like your typical isolated vocals that are melodic or doing some falsetto singing. These are just straight up isolated hardcore style yells, and the song doesn't actually kick in until there's only about 40 seconds left of it. So I do think that was good. I mean, it was a much needed change of pace after most of the songs so far have been very similar stylistically, which will be a criticism I'm going to have, but I'll get into that later. And we close the album off with a title track, which is another one that follows in that same vein again. Kind of got that good guy, bad guy dynamic going on between the aggressive verses and the melodic choruses, and just the various aggressive and melodic parts spaced throughout the song. And I will say that every song on here that does have that balance between the heavy parts and the melodic parts, it's done very smoothly. There isn't a single song on here where these clean choruses feel out of place or pasted in. These songs feel like they were arranged and orchestrated very well and written as full bodies of work, as opposed to, like I said, having like these heavy parts that were written to be distinct and then having these choruses that feel just like parachuted in. These songs do not feel that way at all. I also really like the production on this record in every aspect. Like those clean guitar parts, how, like I said earlier, they kind of just like float over the heavy parts, and it gives everything a much needed like extra layer, and it makes everything sound very full. The vocal production is another thing I really like about this album, especially the clean vocals. I really appreciate on this album how, like so many bands, I feel like when they do their clean vocals, there's this like inexplicable like extra polish on the vocals. And this album doesn't have that. The clean vocals specifically here feel very raw, and like they weren't put through those processing plants that a lot of other bands do. I will also compliment the versatility of the vocals on this record. Again, I'm not sure which of the twins are doing what, if it's one of them doing clean singing, one of them screaming, or one of them doing both. Not sure. But this album has virtually every style of vocals that exist in metal. You have your high screams, you have your low screams, you have clean vocals obviously, you have your hardcore style yells. So the vocal versatility on this album is outstanding. I really do like it. And this album as a whole also does feel very cohesive. None of the songs feel like they are unnecessary or like filler tracks. There isn't a single song on here that I think I would say I would skip. I think there are really two criticisms I have for this record. The first one kind of follows in that same vein as that last piece of praise I just made, where the album does feel very cohesive. I find that I'm having a very difficult time distinguishing the songs from each other. Aside from Introspect, which again has that like isolated vocal part, I feel like all of these songs sound the exact same. And when you're listening to the album as a whole, although it isn't a long record, so it doesn't become like a painful chore to get through, when you listen to this album as a whole, it really blends together a lot. And just to clarify, that's not me saying that the songs are bad at all. I think all of these songs could stand alone and are good songs. And to be fair, this might be just an outdated criticism because I feel like not a whole lot of people listen to albums all the way through anymore, and it's mostly just picking out songs you like and adding it to your playlist. But if you're like me and you like listening to albums as whole bodies of work in the sequence that they're meant to be listened to, this is a very real criticism that I think applies to this record. It's just that these songs, while they are good, they don't really have distinct identity from each other. Like, you can listen to pretty much any song on here and find traditional metalcore breakdown style riffs, clean guitars kind of floating over them, the dynamic between clean singing and screams kind of alternating the whole time. The tempos of the songs feel like they're all pretty much the same. Like, I don't feel like it'd be that outlandish of a statement to say that rather than this feeling like an album, it feels like one very long song. So I do wish they kind of mix things up a little bit, maybe incorporate some other influences or have songs that explicitly are different from each other in a sense that maybe you have one that's a bit faster, a bit more aggressive, and then you have one that's a bit maybe slower, sludgier. You can do one that's kind of more like a ballad-based song where you have all clean vocals the whole time. Those are just some ideas, and I think if they did do that, the result would be very good. My other criticism is, although I do really think the vocals stand out on this record, I find them to be a bit unintelligible. Like, if you go back and watch pretty much any of my reviews, I always talk about the lyrics. Unfortunately, I can't really do that here because not only are the lyrics not available, which I'm not going to knock them for that, but I can't really understand most of what I'm hearing vocally. It might have to do with how they're performing the vocals. It might have to do with the production of the vocals. It might have to do with the songs just sounding very full in general and everything sounding so layered that it makes it harder to hear. But I do wish I was able to pick up more on the lyrics. And maybe, you know what, maybe if they were on Spotify or somewhere where I could read them as I listen, maybe I'll be able to hear it a bit better. But unfortunately, I can't. So anyways, in conclusion, this is a good album. Just the content and the musicality and everything on this record is good. There was nothing on the album that I didn't like. And it's just these minor criticisms that weigh the album down a little bit. So for that reason, I'm going to give this album a 23 out of 30. As always, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more rock and metal related content. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.